Can you mute Denise?
All right. Let's be on the record. Case number 2019-CR1175, captioned State of Kansas versus Dakota Gibson. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
May it please the court, Candace Alvarez appears on behalf of the state.
May it please the court, Dakota Gibson appears with Christopher Cuevas.
All right. We are here set down today for a plea hearing. Mr. Gibson, here's what we're going to do today, okay? First of all, we are doing this by video conference. My understanding in talking to your attorney that you and he talked about it, you would waive your personal appearance today and agree to do this by video conference. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions to go over this plea with you. And I'll have my court reporter swear you in when we're ready to go. If any time I ask you a question, you don't understand what I'm asking, don't take a guess at it. Just tell me that, and we'll talk about it until we're on the same page, okay?
Okay.
And at any time, if you want to talk to Mr. Cuevas privately, before you answer a question, I'll let you do that. In fact, I've got a way where I can send you guys to a separate room where we can't hear you, and you can talk and then come back when you're done, okay?
Okay.
All right. With that, as I said, I need to swear you in. So if you'd raise your right hand, my court reporter will swear you in.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Gibson, how much formal education have you had?
11th grade.
All right. You read and write okay?
Yes.
As you sit here today, are you under the influence of any alcohol or drugs or prescription medicine that might cloud your mind, keep you from understanding what we're doing?
No, Your Honor.
Feel like your mind's clear today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand what you're charged with?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, you know that you don't have to change your plea from one of not guilty to guilty. If you wanted a trial, you wanted to maintain your not guilty plea and a trial to a jury, you would have that absolute right. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
At that trial, the state would have to put on enough evidence to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You wouldn't have to prove anything yourself. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. At that trial, Mr. Cuevas would be able to assist you. He would cross-examine and confront all of the state's witnesses. If you had people you wanted to come to court as witnesses, he could use the subpoena power of the court to make them come to come to court and testify to present any evidence that you wanted presented. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
At that trial, you would have a right to testify, but you would also have a right not to testify. And if you decided not to testify, the state couldn't use that against you. In other words, Ms. Alvarez couldn't get up and argue to the jury, well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gibson must be guilty because he didn't tell you his side. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If we went through that whole trial, at the end of that trial, you were convicted, you would have a right to appeal that conviction to the appellate courts. If you didn't have the money for a lawyer to do that, one would be appointed to do it for you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you end up changing your plea to one of guilty today, you're going to be giving up all of those rights that I just talked about, and there won't be any kind of trial either to a court or a jury in this case. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I want to show you here what Mr. Cuevas sent me. It's a petition to enter a plea of guilty. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does that look like the document that Mr. Cuevas went over with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand everything in that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And at the end of it, there's a signature. I'll show you that where it says defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now in here, it says that the plea agreement is that you're going to be pleading to count 1, which is a burglary, a level 9 non-person felony, and count 2, which is an attempted burglary, a level 10 non-person felony, and that the other counts would be dismissed. That the parties will recommend concurrent sentences between the 2 counts, and that you will pay restitution even for those counts that get dismissed. Is that your understanding of the entire plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cuevas, is that your understanding of the entire plea agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Alcaraz?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Has anybody promised you anything else other than what I just read to you to get you to plead guilty today?
No, Honor.
Anyone placed any force or threats against you to make you plead today?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So I see in here, it says that the lawyers will be recommending concurrent sentences. While I listen closely to all the recommendations about what a sentence should be, I'm not bound by any agreements, and I can give you any sentence that the law allows. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Cuevas, do you have an idea what you believe Mr. Gibson's criminal history to be?
Your Honor, I think he's a D, and quite frankly, I was worried about special rules. This court allowed me to continue the case a while to get with the court services officer. We did a preliminary PSI, and they got back to me and Ms. Alcaraz. They also think he's a D, as in David. They do not think there's any special rules, but Dakota understands that despite my search, the state search, and the court services officer search, if we're all wrong and some other things are found later, things from when he was a juvenile, things for when he was vacationing in Hawaii, or things that another attorney said, don't worry, it's not going to count. Those could affect his sentence, and that's why we continued it for a while.
All right. So, Mr. Gibson, I think your lawyer set it out really well. What I have to do today is assume that you just have the very worst criminal history, right? Because I won't know that until we have a pre-sentence investigation. So what I have to do is tell you what the maximum that anybody could get for these charges if you had that very worst criminal history. And in these particular counts, the maximum would be 24 months in prison, a fine of $200,000, and 12 months of post-release supervision. Do you understand those are the maximum sentences for these charges?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Before we get to the crux of the matter here, do you have any questions about anything that I've gone over with you today?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Cuevas, do you know any legal reason why your client should not plead today?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then I'll ask you, Mr. Gibson, as to count one, that being a burglary, which is a level 9 non-person felony, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And as to count two, the attempted burglary, a level 10 non-person felony, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to ask Ms. Alcaraz to tell me what she believes the evidence would be if this case went to trial. I want you to listen closely because when she's done, I'm going to ask you if that's what happened, okay?
Okay.
Ms. Alcaraz.
On September 27, 2019, the defendant present here today did enter a silver 2019 Kia belonging to Cheryl Baswell on 3 Delaware Street, Edwardsville, Kansas.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? The address?
Yes, 3 Delaware Street, Edwardsville, Kansas, Wyandotte County. He did enter this vehicle without her authority, and he was rummaging through the vehicle, appearing to commit a theft therein. And immediately after exiting this vehicle, he walked to the corner of Mission Creek and Delaware, still in Edwardsville, Wyandotte County, Kansas, and attempted to gain entry to a maroon 2005 Dodge Caravan belonging to Sandra Glover Moore. He failed to gain entry into that vehicle. He did not have authority to enter that vehicle.
All right. Mr. Gibson, you heard what the prosecutor had to say.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what happened in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm getting a sentencing date from my administrative assistant. All right, I will find that the defendant has freely, voluntarily, and intelligently waived his constitutional rights and entered this plea today. He understands the nature of the charges, the consequences of the plea. There is a factual basis to support the plea, and I will find that he is in fact guilty of counts 1 and 2. Per the plea agreement, counts 3 and 4 are dismissed. I will order that a pre-sentence investigation be completed, and we will defer sentencing until that we receive that. I'll find a date here in a moment. This is not a registration offense. However, Mr. Gibson, as a convicted felon, it's prohibited for you to own or possess a firearm, certain kind of deadly cutting instruments like dirks, daggers, switchblades, basically knives that can be considered deadly weapons. Mr. Cuevas can tell you more about that. My point today just is before you decide to own or possess any weapons like that, make sure you talk to a good lawyer like Mr. Cuevas to make sure it wouldn't be reason to revoke a probation or add new charges, okay?
Okay.
All right. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll get a date from Denise and check it with the council. Mr. Cuevas, is there anything else before I do that?
If we can go past August 13th, so I don't have to worry about childcare.
Okay. Give me 1 second. August 21st at 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
That works.
That's when I will send, or where I will set the hearing. Mr. Cuevas, were you able to fill out a pre-sentence investigation request?
No, but I'll go ahead and do that right now, and I'll email it to Ms. Johns.
Okay, please do. CC me on it so I know that it's done. Not that I doubt that you would do what you need to do. But yeah, if you could do that, I would appreciate it. And we will set sentencing for August 21st at 9 o'clock. Mr. Gibson, what I was talking about, Mr. Cuevas is going to fill out a piece of paper to give the information that probation will need to reach out to you to set up a pre-sentence investigation interview so we can get that document done and get your sentencing done in August, okay?
Okay.
All right. Ladies, gentlemen, anything else we need for our record today?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
No, Judge.
All right. We will see you all in August. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. We're adjourned.
All right. Thank you.